Last week, the Barbie movie premiered in theaters. Barbie, the doll that set beauty standards for the past decades, is a blonde, tall, and slender figure. According to Ruth Handler, the creator of the doll and founder of Mattel, an American toy company, Barbie was like an older sister guiding girls through their adolescence. In 1959, when Handler invented Barbie, the doll quickly took over the world, becoming the best-selling doll on store shelves like never before. Despite her success, Barbie, the world's most famous doll, has a collection of controversial stories, including her origin in erotic comics and the objectification of women. Let's delve into the origins of Barbie. The story proves that Barbie is more than just a simple toy. Perhaps more than anything else, she showed girls that they could grow up to be whatever they wanted, breaking free from traditional roles that were presented to them for so long. And the woman behind Barbie, Ruth Handler, was as inspiring as her creation. But before we talk more about Barbie, let's shed some light on the woman who made it all happen. Ruth Handler was born on November 4, 1916, in Denver, Colorado. Although her family lived in the United States, she was the daughter of Russian Jewish immigrants named Jacob. In school, she met a boy named Elio Huntler, and the high school sweethearts ended up getting married and moving to Los Angeles, California, in 1938. They started a business with Harold Madison, combining their names into one word, Mattel. Surprisingly, Mattel didn't start as a toy manufacturer. They began by selling wooden picture frames. When that business didn't take off, they didn't waste the leftover materials. Instead, they used them to create small furniture suitable for dollhouses. Despite the success of this dollhouse furniture business, Madison sold his half of the company, believing it was destined to fail. That's when Ruth joined her husband as the co-owner of the business. Soon after, Mattel shifted its focus solely to toys. At the beginning, things were challenging, but sales were satisfactory and helped grow the company, though nothing compared to what was to come. One of Mattel's early successful toys was the Uka-Doodle, basically a toy ukulele. The Uka-Doodle became so popular that Mattel decided to launch an entire line of musical toys for children. The 1950s were a prosperous time for Mattel. In 1955, they secured the rights to produce Mickey Mouse Club merchandise, which further popularized the company and put its products in an astounding number of American homes. In the same year, they launched another hit toy, the Burp Gun, a toy gun that was revolutionary for its time. But it wasn't until 1959 that Mattel would unveil a game changer. I'm not talking about just any toy, I'm talking about something that would change the toy market forever. Pay attention. One fine day, Ruth Handler was brainstorming new toy ideas for her company. She considered various options, like variations of existing toys and so on, until she noticed her daughter Barbara playing with paper dolls that were cheerleaders, college students, and adults with different careers. Sounds familiar, right? That's right, folks, the famous Barbie. Watching her daughter play with her friends, Ruth thought of creating a toy that would allow kids to dream about their future. Fantasizing about different professions, she discussed the idea with Mattel's designers and instructed them to create a new doll, unlike almost all other dolls in the market. Instead of making another angelic doll for girls, she decided the doll would represent an adult woman with curves and all. Designers and other company staff questioned if the idea would work. After all, it was 1959, and women had little voice in most countries. In fact, in much of the world, women couldn't even vote, and their main obligation was to take care of the home, children, and husband. So, why create an adult doll, independent and career-oriented, and let her be whatever she wanted? In many minds, it didn't align with reality. But Ruth Handler thought differently. In an interview with the Denver Post, she said that every little girl needed a doll to project her dreams of the future. She also stated that making the doll flat-chested would be somewhat foolish, as the doll would represent how the little girl would be at 16 or 17 years old. Ruth decided to give the doll breasts, but the inspiration for Barbie came during a family trip. She had a great idea when she stumbled upon a doll called Build Lily, a sexy German doll for adults based on a character from a comic strip, who happened to be a sophisticated call girl. Of course, she couldn't market such a doll to children, but it could be precisely the inspiration she was seeking. So, she bought the doll, returned to the United States, and presented it to Mattel's designers on March 9, 1959. The company introduced its new doll, a teenage model. 2 years later, Mattel presented the famous Barbie to the world. The philosophy around Barbie was that through her, any little girl could be whatever she wanted. By the 1970s, Barbie had undergone many changes. She had sported Jacqueline Kennedy's hairstyle and had a black friend named Francie. Barbie had also been a doctor, astronaut, and veterinarian. Her creator faced criticism from feminist groups, claiming Barbie represented unrealistic ideals for girls since her body measurements were almost impossible for a real woman. In 1978, Handler and other Mattel executives were indicted for fraud, attempting to influence the company's stock prices. Nevertheless, none of these issues and criticisms hindered Barbie. In fact, Ruth Handler was an excellent entrepreneur. At one point, she even created a new niche, selling prosthetic breasts for breast cancer survivors. How did she come up with this idea? In 1970, she was diagnosed with breast cancer and unfortunately had to undergo a mastectomy on her left breast. This was when she realized, once again, that there was a niche in the market for her to fill. Until then, all prosthetic breasts sold were interchangeable for the right or left side. Ruth Handler came up with the Nearly Me, a foam and silicone artificial breast. She was so confident that her product would succeed that in interviews, she asked journalists to touch her breasts and guess which one was real. Dealing with this terrible disease, Ruth became a strong advocate for cancer research and early detection of breast cancer. Unfortunately, she had to fight cancer once again, but this time she lost the battle to cervical cancer after undergoing surgery in late 2001 and facing complications. That led to her death a little while later, on April 27, 2002, at the respectable age of 85. That was the end of the woman who revolutionized the toy market worldwide with the slogan, "You can be anything you want." Ruth's creation dominated the imagination of girls at a time when American women were gaining a foothold in the job market and started envisioning a life beyond homemaking and motherhood. Barbie's dolls represented over 200 professions and inspired generations of women, probably continuing to inspire many more. Just as Barbie had her mysteries and challenges, the sea can also hold its mysteries, and we unravel one of them in the video that is appearing to you. Why is seawater salty? To unravel this mystery, I invite you to watch this video, where we'll explore the curiosities and geological processes that make seawater salty. That's it for now, thank you guys.